Can you guys hear me? Is that a yes? I'm assuming you guys can hear. I'm relying on you in the comments to tell me whether you can hear me or not. I'm a bit slow today. Excellent. Thank you guys. Thank you for the feedback. So, we're going to have to work together on this live stream, and this should be going out onto my Twitter as well. And I want to tell you, if you are on Twitter or X, or whichever way you identify, Twitter or X, then I want to let you know to come over to YouTube and stop being a lazy git. Come over to YouTube and get involved in this conversation. How's your guys' Sundays going? We haven't done one of these live streams in a long time, so I apologize. But I thought it was better to get the content out the way that the way that I have been putting out. Have you guys been enjoying the content? It is a beautiful day today. It's a stunning day today here. It's rained a little bit, but not too much. So do me a favor while we're waiting for people to come in. Just retweet the link or reshare it or send it or do whatever you guys do to send this link out to other people that might be interested. Content has been excellent. Like the content, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. We've got 200 people watching this live right now. Listen, you guys could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, so I appreciate it. I want to just say thank you. Look at this golden hour glow right now. Look at this. That's amazing. Look at this. Sun's setting right now. Golden hour, perfect timing. I just had a 4-hand massage. That's why I'm in a bathrobe at 6 p.m. EST. I'm in the Central Time Zone, so it's 5 p.m., but still, it's ridiculous 5 p.m. being in a bathrobe. Today, I really want to just have a conversation. You guys are in charge of wherever this stream goes. I have no real agenda. I just wanted to hang out with my people. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to get bullish with you guys and just hang out and talk a little bit about what's going on in the market. Ben Joseph said, show us your boobs. I don't know whether you can handle that, Ben Joseph. So, we're not going to do that. Willie Bot, no, it was not a happy ending massage. As you guys know, you know, a lot of the Bitcoin rhetoric is you got to not have a good life. And I don't believe in that. I think you should have a good life. I think you should earn that. Like, I stopped smoking cigars between me realizing that I had fucked up with Bitcoin and me buying my first whole Bitcoin. I had absolutely stopped cigars in that time period. So I gave up smoking these beautiful Cuban cigars for the time period between me realizing that I had fucked up and not understood what Bitcoin was and getting to my 1 Bitcoin minimum. So there's 250 people watching. If you're watching this on Twitter, Stop being a lazy bum and come over to YouTube. John just said, just had an acid. This is where we're at right now. Uh, Love your videos. That's a whole Bitcoin. What's a whole Bitcoin feel like? I mean, it feels like you're doing the right thing, I guess. I want to answer as many questions as you guys have today. I have like a little bit of a time limit in my head, but not really. If you guys make it go on, we'll just keep going. I don't care. I don't care. I don't have to be anywhere. Where do I have to be? I just had a 4-hands massage, and I'm sitting here in a bathrobe, looking absolutely perfect in this sunlight, that sunset light that's going down. 5 p.m. in the evening, my time. There's 276 Bitcoiners watching. What else? I'm smoking a beautiful Cuban cigar. I've got some excellent, amazing Colombian dark chocolate here. There is nothing, there is nowhere else I would rather be than right here being bullish as fuck with you guys. And by the way, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. That helps a lot. Again, you know, my point, my main aim is to get as many whole coiners as possible. I really, you know, firstly, I want to say I really appreciate what's going on with the amount of views that you guys are giving me. I truly appreciate that. I don't know what's going on. I'm just basically thinking about Bitcoin, getting angry, turning on the camera, and you guys are yes, this is real. This is a real live. This is a real live, Will. I just want to say I really appreciate that. I truly, genuinely appreciate the amount of love that you guys are showing me and helping me get the message out there. And the way that you can help me is by subscribing to the channel, because the faster you subscribe, the rate of change, which is also important with inflation, but also important with YouTube's algorithm, the rate of change that gets added to the Bitcoin, to the YouTube channel on the subscriber growth dictates how fast YouTube is going to add the videos and the messages in front of people. So that's the one thing that you guys can do. General thoughts on bonds. I think bonds are fucked. I think bonds are absolutely screwed. And here's why they're screwed, because I think they're about to go through a rally period because they've been hammered for so long. So despite them going through an upcoming rally period, I still think they're screwed. And the reason why they're screwed is that people are now looking at it going, why would I invest in bonds if they're going to be like this, volatile to the downside, 27% over 3 years? I can't trust the Federal Reserve to do what they're telling me they're going to do. Why would I trust bonds at this point? Why would I even... I can understand that the government is going to back up these bonds and back up their commitments. But why would, if the bond volatility is to the downside, and that 40% of my 60-40 portfolio that you, Mr. BlackRock, told me was safe, is now no longer safe, why wouldn't I want some extra risk to generate some extra return? Why wouldn't I want to add some extra risk to my portfolio to generate some extra return? The reputation of the Federal Reserve keeping the bond owners safe has been ruined at this point. It's been completely ruined at this point. So what do I think of bonds? I think bonds are screwed, even though I think they're going to turn around and go through a rally. I just placed a long call trade on TLT. I had one open. I've placed another one because I think it's going to pay off over the next couple of years. This guy said, sell some... Hold on. I got to find this. Look at this. Look at this. Sell some of your Bitcoin and buy a better robe than the Walmart one you have on now. Listen, I bet you don't even have a robe. talking about my Walmart robe. This is the sat stacking robe. That's what this is. This is the sat stacking robe. Don't ever talk about my robe ever again. This is an interesting question. Do you think BlackRock and Fidelity will try to rehypothecate Bitcoin through their ETF once approved? I think rehypothecation is definitely a risk, but it's something that happens. It's something that happens. It's not something that you need to worry about. You know, the one thing that I don't appreciate in the whole $1,000 net worth Twitter expert space is that everyone likes to talk about all of this, you know, underworld manipulation. There's nothing underworld about it. It's straight in your face, right? But the only thing that these guys have ever been caught for when they're trying to manipulate these assets has been, like, spoofing was JP Morgan's biggest lawsuit in the gold space. So when there's people out here talking about, oh, all this manipulation happens in the gold space. In fact, the GLD ETF helped manipulation in the gold space go down because more capital came into the market. So a lot of these people really don't understand what the fuck they're talking about. And so it is what it is. Like, I guess it's easier to sell newsletters when you tell people that the whole world is going to come to an end. You will never hear me say the world is coming to an end. Yeah, I might exaggerate a few things just to get your attention and get you focused on one Bitcoin, but I believe in the future of the world. I believe in the future of humanity. I believe in the future of what is being created, what has been created, and what's going on in the world. I truly believe that. We are at a point in the world. Don't listen to the $1,000 net worthers that have nothing to look forward to. We're at a point in the world where we have the lowest amount of poverty ever created. Like, we have the longest life expectancy rates, the highest amount of education in the world, the most amount of freedom in the world. You know, the least likelihood to die from natural causes. This world that we live in is absolutely great, and it is gonna get better and better and better. So I'm definitely not trying to sell you a newsletter by trying to tell you that the world is going to come to an end. Yeah, so, you know, listen, if you're watching this on Twitter, stop being lazy. Come over to YouTube. Just go to YouTube, type in British Hodl, find the stream. And if you're on YouTube, then please subscribe to the channel. That's very, very important. Look at this. Look at this. Yo said, do you think the corporations secretly invented Bitcoin to bring one world currency and further control us? They can easily own all the Bitcoin that's out there. They print all the money and own everything. See, you've been spending too much, whoever this yo is, you've been spending too much time listening to $1,000 net worthers. How are they going to own all the Bitcoin in the world when I refuse? Everyone that's watching right now, I want you to let me know whether, if someone came to you right now and said, hey, I want you to sell your Bitcoin at 27,000, are you going to do it or not? Because you ain't getting my Bitcoin. You're not getting my Bitcoin. So what are you talking about? They print all the money and own everything. This is a classic $1,000 net worther statement to make. They own everything. Oh my, they. You listen to too many videos on YouTube about they, and you get terrified. Absolutely. Look at everyone in the comments. No one's selling anything. So what are you talking about? In fact, I don't own any for me to sell. So what am I talking about? These types of comments are the ones that really confuse the hell out of people, and the ones that I worry about, because unfortunately there's 1,000 yos, there's only one of me. And we need more people being bullish and understanding how markets work, and understanding how it requires a lot to get people to sell the scarcest asset known to mankind in the humanity and ever in existence. So, do I think that they secretly invented? Now, can you say that the NSA maybe invented Bitcoin? Maybe. That's something I could entertain. Why not? And by the way, yeah, that's another good point. There's a lot. It seems like the shitcoiners have found my channel. So every time in any video, I just see people commenting, saying, "Hey, contact me," and they have my face and all this, the British Hodl, logo. And I want you to remember to ignore them. In fact, if they comment on anything you comment, just reply with a big fuck you. Let's see. What's this one? Can we get your opinion on miners and if they have potential to break new all-time highs, if ETFs are approved and Bitcoin reaches a new all-time high? Yes, I am absolutely bullish on Bitcoin miners. The way my portfolio is set, let's talk a little bit about portfolio. So the way my portfolio is set up is that I always think about, for the next 10 years, what's the big macro play? And in this scenario, the macro idea is Bitcoin. Bitcoin adoption continues to grow, more people understanding Bitcoin, et cetera, right? So Bitcoin forms the overwhelming majority of my portfolio, right? And then on top of that, I want to go, okay, well, so I've got, let's say 50% in Bitcoin. And by the way, there's going to be a bunch of people that say, oh, you need more than 50%. It's hard. How do I put more than 50% with money, right? Somebody with money. How do they, I can understand if you've got $5,000, you can be 100% in Bitcoin. But unless you started and created your wealth in Bitcoin, which unfortunately I didn't, how do you even get to the point of putting 100% into Bitcoin? It's not possible. So let's imagine I have 50% in Bitcoin. Well, then 30% of that, I need a layer 2 example of where there's a little bit more risk, but there's a little bit more return. And remember, the underlying asset is Bitcoin, which means that my hurdle rate in asset management, they call it a hurdle rate, which is the minimum return that you have to achieve in order for the client to actually pay you a fee. The hurdle rate for me is whatever the compound annual growth rate on that Bitcoin is. And so if I'm taking that 50%, putting it into Bitcoin, that's compounding at 70% CAGR over 10 years, I'm going to look for that 30% and go, okay, so I need something that's going to give me a little bit more than that 70% over 10 years. And the only thing there is the Bitcoin miners. So that's how my portfolio is set up. And then the final 20%, I want to put into something that's like a layer 3 on top of the underlying asset. So I have layer 1, which is Bitcoin, layer 2, which is the Bitcoin mining companies, and then layer 3, which is for me the stock, call options and derivatives. And again, I don't think anyone should do that. They have huge amounts of risks. If you don't know what you've been doing, like, this is just my way of fiat mining, right? Everyone has their own strategy to fiat mine, and this is my way of fiat mining. Fiat mining for me involves investing in the markets because it's been what I've been doing for the last, 17 years, 18 years almost. All right, how do I do? Hold on. Oh, shit. Okay. So there's a bunch of questions going on here, and I've just figured out how to favorite them so I can come back to them. Okay, that's good. So yeah, that's how I think about it. I'm very, very bullish on miners. I own mining stocks. They've taken an absolute beating, but I think they're going to do really well. I think, the derivative trades that I have on top of the miners is going to do extremely well. And guess what? At the end of the day, I'll convert them all back into Bitcoin. All of the profits that are generated from that will all be Bitcoin because Bitcoin is the hurdle rate. There is nothing that's generating an ROI better than Bitcoin. And of course, when the market turns around and we hit the next bull run and we hit the top and then we come back down, I'll be taking positions to the downside too. I won't ever be shorting Bitcoin, but I'll absolutely be taking hedge positions to the downside. But again, for most people, this is irrelevant. Most of you guys are trying to think about how to do this speculative shit without even owning one Bitcoin. There is a certain amount of stacked Bitcoin that I have that I cannot touch even if I wanted to. It is in 3 different jurisdictions through a multi-sig setup. And I couldn't even touch it. Like right now, I'm not even in the. I try not to spend time in the countries where the keys for those wallets are held. I don't. Like if you tried to tell me, hey, I'll move that big, it's not possible. Can't do it. I need to fly. Would now be a good time to get into Bitcoin miner companies and like MicroStrategy. Bitcoin miner companies, MicroStrategy is not a Bitcoin mining company. MicroStrategy has a de facto premium attached to it because it is like a Bitcoin ETF. And I'm curious to see, I think Michael Saylor is one of the smartest people to ever exist. And I think this one move is gonna be unbelievable for him. And I think that it will be curious to see what happens to the price of MicroStrategy once a US ETF is approved. Because if it is a de facto ETF, which I believe it is, then there's obviously some premium attached to it, and that premium will come down as the risk is taken away by a proper ETF. What happens when Bitcoin runs out and it's actually used in a supermarket as payment in Croatia? But what happens when it runs out? What do you mean by when it runs out? What is it? What does that mean? If Bitcoin can't run, no asset ever runs out. Yes, you might own all of it, but then guess what has to happen? If there's 2 levers to an asset, there's a demand lever and a supply lever, and the supply lever is absolutely fixed. The demand lever has to go up, and once the demand lever goes up enough, the price has to move in order to get me to liquidate some supply. That's all it is. At the right price, everything is for sale. In your opinion, what will the US government do with their 220,000 Bitcoin? If they're smart, they'll hold on to the Bitcoin and say, let's see what happens with this. If they're smart. How many people here believe the US government is smart? Banks are limiting purchasing Bitcoin any ways around it. Listen, it's tough. Like I'm from the UK, and in the UK, banks are now shutting down accounts that are wiring money to Bitcoin exchanges. It's a tough time. You got to figure it out and do it quickly. Remember, the US is at a point where it doesn't really want to own the asset. It just wants to control it. That's the strategy of the US. The strategy of the US is we want to control the asset. And they can control the asset without owning it. So if they can do that in their web of the financial web that the US has created, then they don't need to worry about that. And the ETF is one way to do that. If the only way that you can own your Bitcoin is through the ETF, the US controls it. Simple as that. What's the strategy for paying off what you borrow of your Bitcoin at the 200-day moving average in the future? This is obviously a reference to the video that I did. What cigar are you smoking? Partagas D6 from Cuba. One of my favorite short smokes. So, what is the strategy for paying off what you borrow on your Bitcoin at the 200-day moving average? It's very simple. You borrow enough so that the payments, get accounted for in the amount you borrow, and then you wait, and then you refi. It's very, very simple. I completely agree with this. Just do business with who treats you well. Listen, anyone who is watching this on Twitter, stop being lazy. Come over to YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, just do me a favor and please click subscribe on the channel. Helps me out a lot. Listen, guys, who do you think has the best YouTube channel? I know there's going to be a bunch of you say me. Ignore me. Who do you think has the best YouTube channel for orange pilling right now? And by the way, if you're wondering, just join why I'm in a bathrobe. It's because I just had a 4-handed massage. And it finished 15 minutes before the live stream was due to start because the massage therapists were late. So here we are. Best YouTube channel is Simply Bitcoin. I love Simply Bitcoin. I think they're doing a fantastic job. Yeah, Bitcoin University is also great. I never really got on with the Invest Answers YouTube channel, but a lot of people love what he's doing. Max Kaiser, OG. Yeah, Bitcoin University and Simply Bitcoin, I think, are pretty good. Matthew said 1.8 million Bitcoin on exchanges, 59 million millionaires. 1 Bitcoin is equivalent scarcity to $10 million net worth. Completely agree. People are not getting it. Like, I don't know how much I'm going to have to... firstly, I think there's a cap on how long I can be in the space. I don't think I'm recording videos after, I don't know, 2028. I don't think I am. I don't. I don't think I'm recording video. I don't think I'm here. I don't think I'm recording videos. I don't think I'm live streaming. I don't think I'm doing any of that after 2028. And so, people think that I'm being hyperbolic when I'm saying that. I genuinely believe that there is a race against scarcity here. And at some point, it's going to be over for the average person. You just go into, usual life again. You work, you earn Bitcoin. It's a tiny bit, and that's it. Like, I'm trying to get as many people to 1 Bitcoin as possible. Now. Right fucking now. That's why I hate the $10 a month DCA gang. Because all they want to do is make people wait. And I'm like, I get it, but I would much rather dive in and then figure out the asset as you go along. I think that's much more apt and much more important. Richard said, I'm so ready to tell people I told you so. I had that mindset too. And I completely understand, Richard. But now the way that I think about it is I just feel sorry for people. I feel sorry for the people I feel sorriest for are the people who are just arrogant in my mind. Like, you're so arrogant. BlackRock has got their entire office focused on Bitcoin. The most influential asset manager out there, and you can't be bothered to even learn about it. It's crazy. I learned about ESG. I don't agree with ESG. I don't care about ESG. I think ESG is the worst, product that BlackRock created. Still learned about it. I still learned about why they were buying up rainforests to sell back the carbon credits to their own clients and create that circular ESG economy. Still learned about it because it's the most influential asset manager in the world. Of course I learned about it. Keep your foot on their neck. Here we go. Tyler said, hi, what do you think Satoshi's long-term plan is for holding 1 million Bitcoin? Is it somehow altruistic for Bitcoin survival, having dormant concentrated wealth? I'm a new subscriber, thanks. Firstly, thanks for subscribing. Secondly, get your ass to 1 Bitcoin. Thirdly, I don't know what Satoshi's plan is. I don't know if Satoshi's alive, Satoshi's dead. I don't know. Everyone can have their opinions, right? What if Satoshi is the NSA? And eventually, when Satoshi reveals himself as the NSA, they say, right, Bitcoin has done fantastically well. We now have to realize that the NSA, they won't say, oh, NSA is Bitcoin. They say the NSA has captured the coins of Satoshi and they're now going into the US Treasury in order to back the US dollar by Bitcoin. Who the fuck knows? We know it's not Craig Wright. We absolutely know it's not Craig Wright, for sure. Adam Back is Satoshi. Okay. Hey, could be someone worse. Could be someone worse. Adam Back is Satoshi. Here's my friend Sean. Listen, I want everyone to go to Good Day Bitcoin and go hang out with my Aussie Bitcoin brother over here. And on Monday, I think, is it tomorrow? Is it tomorrow, Sean? We have recorded a podcast, and he tells me that it's the best podcast he's ever recorded. He tells me that babies are going to cry after, not cry, babies are going to laugh after listening to that podcast. Babies are going to realize why they need Bitcoin after that podcast. So, do me a favor, go and subscribe to his channel, and you will see the podcast that I've done that's coming out in the next few days. Cigar on the menu is a Partagás D6. Partagás, by the way, for anyone who ever wants to send me a gift, Cuban Partagases are my favorite cigars. I love all of them. So, there you go. If people are not at 1 Bitcoin yet, how long do they have left to get their Bitcoin? Talking to people eating under 6 figures a year. Yeah, look, in my mind, you better do everything you can to get to 1 Bitcoin before the end of 2023. Latest before the halving. But I think the end of 2023. We have abnormally stayed at these prices. This is the longest bear market in Bitcoin history. This is not like we are dealing with, this is the usual process of everything that's going on. This is the longest bear market in Bitcoin history. So if you have not managed to accumulate 1 Bitcoin in the longest bear market in Bitcoin history, better get your shit together. We should be a lot higher than where we're at right now. So 2023. End of 2023, you better get to your 1 Bitcoin. Hold on. Do you subscribe to any of the thoughts of Peter Dunworth regarding his pricing? I think a $7 billion Bitcoin or whatever it is a little bit crazy, but I completely understand the rationale behind why Peter is saying that. I don't think it works out like that, but I completely understand the rationale, and I think he's another great addition to the Bitcoin space as well. I love seeing people who have got, old school legacy finance experience coming out and talking about it, because generally speaking, we wouldn't really talk about it. It's not something I should be coming out here talking about. How do you borrow against Bitcoin at the 200 weekly? Will you do a video? I already did a video. Go look at the video on when to borrow against Bitcoin. It's all in there. Are you going to the conference in Nashville? Are you trying to get me hated, or what? What's going on? Everyone trying to get me hated. Am I not? Am I not being nice enough? You trying to get me hated right now? Fuck no, I'm not going to the conference in Nashville. The only conference that I actually want to go to one day is BitBlock Boom. That's it. It's the only conference I actually want to go to, and because I think Gary does an amazing job. I love his energy, and I think I think that's the type of conference that I think is appropriate. But to go to a conference anywhere, I'm not just picking on one conference or another. To go to a conference where there's 3,000 people, you're walking around, everyone's fucking paid for the opportunity to exhibit at these conferences to try and steal your Bitcoin by selling you pieces of shit art or whatever the fuck else they've created. Not interested in that. My Bitcoin stays right here, right in between my body and my robe. Nashville Bitcoin Conference just said Partagaz will be in the goodie bag. Well, luckily, I can buy my own damn Partagaz. Will the current conflicts have a negative impact on the next all-time high? What do you mean by the current conflicts? I'm trying to figure out how to use this shit. Right. Sean said, Tuesday night, the podcast comes out. Been listening 2x speed to catch up. Mate, your insights will blow people away. They think you're bullish today. Just wait. Just wait. That was a great podcast. And you know what happens when you get a Brit and an Aussie together? It's great. We sent them over there for a reason. Go to Tone Vase's Unconfiscatable in Dubai. Maybe. I've never really paid attention to Tone, but from what I hear, I've only heard good things about him. So yeah. The thing is that, like, what are you gonna do when you go to a conference? When you go to a conference about Bitcoin, what are you gonna do? You're gonna listen to the same people that you see on YouTube, and they're gonna say the same stuff that I'm saying. Except now you can listen to me. Some of you are comfortable smoking a cigar with me. Some of you are sitting on the toilet. Some of you are lying in bed. You're listening to it. We're all getting bullish together. We're all smoking cigars together. Like, what else? What else do you want? Why do you want to dress up, go to a conference to listen to this same shit? Maybe I should do my own Bitcoin conference. Maybe I should do my own Bitcoin conference, stream it through my YouTube channel for everyone to watch. And that way, it's absolutely free. What do you think? These people are going to say no to coming to talk about how great Bitcoin is? Maybe we'll do that next year. At the end of the day, the goal here is not to get together and circle jerk each other. The goal is to own as much Bitcoin as possible so that when you have kids and they have kids in 50 years, you ain't going to remember me and they're not going to know me. So in that amount of time, the goal is to get you Bitcoin, not to get you to say British HODL is cool or not. I'd much rather you say British HODL is an asshole, British HODL is cool, British HODL is a dickhead, whatever, as long as you get your one Bitcoin. British obviously doesn't think shit's going to hit the fan. No, I do not. I do not think the world needs to end for Bitcoin to be worth $5 million a coin. I disagree with everyone on that. Will you buy the ETF when it comes out? Absolutely. Why would I not? Absolutely. I own GBTC. Why would I not own the ETF? How do you store your Bitcoin? Best advice. I use a multi-sig solution that's located in 3 different jurisdictions. And for, like, if I ever want to, do a little bit of transaction or whatever, I'll buy some Bitcoin, put it into a short-term wallet, and I use Blockstream Green for that, and that's it. my business uses Coinbase Wallet to take payments in Bitcoin from customers, but that's it. Hey, listen, Matthew said smash the like button. So everyone should right now go and smash the like button because there's 500 people watching, but there's only 200 likes. That's fiat numbers. And I completely agree with him. So go and smash the like button and subscribe. And if you're on Twitter, get your bum to YouTube. Come to YouTube right now. Join us here. And if you're watching on YouTube, click the subscribe button on the channel, please. Because the faster you subscribe, the faster the rate of change, just like the rate of change on inflation, the rate of change. If they say, oh my God, this account had 0 subscribers in August, and now we're at 15,400 bullish as fuck whole coiners, we need to push this out to more people. That's the whole point. You know what the craziest part about having a YouTube channel is? My mom watches every single video and learns about Bitcoin through the YouTube. So even when I can't, if I'm busy or whatever, I haven't got the time to talk a lot, I know that when I do these videos, yes, you guys are here having a good time and whatever else, but my mom is also watching this and learning about Bitcoin as well. You know how cool that is? Martin said, I don't plan to have kids, I just want Bitcoin. Listen, why don't you want kids? Why don't you want kids? Let's talk about that for a second. So I was doing some research, and I was sitting here thinking, because I'm at that point in life where I need to start thinking about that. I was like focused on wealth and success and all this other stuff in the early part of my life, but I'm at the point now where things are good, and I need to start focusing on that, because one of my mentors always told me, anything you want in life, and if you ever want to figure out whether you truly want to do whatever you're doing or not, go to the end of your life, think about what you want the end of your life to look like, and then work backwards. So, I started thinking about that a few weeks ago. And I created the perfect vision for the end of my life. And the vision is this, right? I started looking at okay, well, what is the ideal number of children to have if you want to create a legacy, a fucking army? An army of people that are moving in the same direction with the same vision. What is that? What is that number? And I started looking at the most successful families on earth, and some people have had 4 kids, some people have had 5 kids, some people have 6 kids, 10 kids, etc., etc. And then I came across the Rothschilds, and the Rothschild, the way he did it, everyone always talks about Rockefeller. Rockefeller is absolutely amazing, right? Rockefeller is great, and Americans love talking about Rockefeller. But Rothschild wipes the fucking floor with Rockefeller in terms of wealth. So I started looking at, okay, how did he do it? And the way that he did it was he put, Susie, I do not have kids, but that's what we're talking about right now. I want kids, and I've been thinking about how many I need to have in order to execute the vision and make sure that my will is enforced onto this planet. So Rothschild had 5 sons and a bunch of daughters, and basically the setup was, the sons were responsible for making money, and the daughters were responsible for nurturing the money that has already been made. That's my interpretation of it. So the sons were brought up and then strategically placed in European cities to grow the banking empire that he had. It's a fucking genius idea. So once the assets were accumulated, the daughter's responsibility was to nurture and curate the art, the vineyard, the properties, etc., and to grow the wealth of those once it had been accumulated. I thought that was absolutely fantastic, right? I thought that's absolute great vision. So I was thinking about, what do I want my life to look like when I'm 70 years old? What do I want that to look like? And I was like, there would be nothing better there would be nothing better than to, at 70 years old, have, 5 kids in different important cities in the world, absolutely amazing cities in the world. Singapore, Dubai, London, New York, where maybe not New York, wherever, right? Like whatever the cities there are out there. And then spend my year flying around with my wife and my dog and flying around to these different cities and making sure that everything is in place, mentoring my children, mentoring my grandchildren, because I would have to brainwash my children into knowing that if they didn't have 3 to 5 kids themselves, then they're worthless in my eyes too, right? That's the way to do it. I come from an Indian background. We have no problem in emotional blackmail, right? It's just what it is. So, I'm being a bit facetious there, obviously. So, I can't think of anything better when money is no longer important to, or making money is no longer important, to go out there and spend my year and making sure that, because at that point, Bitcoin's going to be now being used. It's going to be the foundation of the world. So I'm going to have Bitcoin that needs to be executed in order to help build industries with Bitcoin underlying it. So imagine if I had a child in all these different areas of the world, and they had a partner from those different areas in the world. And now you've got, in 2 generations, an army of people that are focused on the exact same vision and a way of life, that are executing based on the principles of Bitcoin and the principles of life in a conservative way. And then imagine one of my children, say in Singapore, has a son or a daughter that wants to have a Latin American experience, and I've got a son or a daughter in Colombia or Brazil or wherever else, and they can, like, instead of like going and taking the risks of being out in the world and being infiltrated by the mindset of the world that is just keeps going down and downhill, they can just call their uncle in wherever and go take 6 months and go live with their uncle in wherever, and their cousins, and enjoy. Like that sounds like fun. Tell me that doesn't sound like fun. I'm flying around the world, I'm smoking cigars, I'm in 5 different amazing cities every single year. I got friends in all those cities, I'm smoking cigars with everyone, I'm handling my children, we're all focused on building the Bitcoin future. The kids are having a great time. I got grandchildren everywhere. I got me, my wife, my dog. What else? What else is there? Tell me what else is there. Because, I've met some very, very successful people in my life. And it's very rare that you meet someone who's old and successful and happy that doesn't have children. I'm not saying everyone should have children, by the way. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying, for me, based on what I've seen, that's just what I've seen. That's just the blueprint that I've grown up with. I'm sure it has something to do with my culture as well. The Huddle Childs. I like that. I like that. Someone said, forget kids, smoke them cigars and enjoy those massages. You don't think I'm going to enjoy massages and smoking cigars when I have children? What are you talking about? My kids are going to watch me smoke until they're old enough to smoke themselves. See, this I'm not trying to do. I'm not trying to do this. I respect it. I wish you all the best of luck. But I'm definitely not trying to do that. Zachary said, British Huddle is an excellent inspiration. I've started puffing cigars now, Macanudos. Macanudos are cool. We gotta, once you start learning, the best thing you can do if you're new to cigars is smoke like a variety of cigars, and then you start learning what your palate is, what you enjoy, and then eventually you'll settle on, okay, these. I like Maduro, I like Habanos wrappers, I like, um, Connecticut wrappers. I like medium, I like strong, I like strong, I like spicy. Like you'll start figuring this out. So everyone keeps telling me this sort of stupid shit, right? I'm gonna tell you a story. In 2019, I had pneumonia. I caught pneumonia. I was in the single best hospital in London because 94% of my right lung was black in the X-ray, and I was about to go. It was at my birthday, and I was about to go on a cigar smoking trip, and I went in because I just felt like I had a bad cold, and it was London Bridge Hospital. If anyone wants to look that up, single best hospital in London. And I walked in, they did the X-ray, and they did the test that they needed to do, and they said, "We cannot let you leave." And I said, "What are you talking about? I'm taking a trip tomorrow." And they said, "If you go on that trip, you are not gonna survive. You will die if we don't if we." I was like, okay, well that's a bit serious. So and I didn't even tell anyone. It wasn't like I was feeling too bad. I was just like, it was. Anyway, so they checked me in. The first time the specialist walks in through the door, the first thing I said to him was, "Listen, I smoke cigars. So how much of this is to do with me smoking cigars? And is cigars anything, is it going to have any bad effect?" And this is the respiratory specialist of the best hospital in London. I don't do NHS. NHS sucks. I don't care what anyone says. Brits are very, very proud of their NHS. Those Brits can keep that. I have no interest in ever. I can tell you some horror stories about the NHS. I have no interest in ever utilizing an NHS hospital unless it is for emergency use only, which is what I think the NHS should be for. But I asked him, I said, "Hey, I smoke cigars. How much of this do you think is to do with cigars?" And he said, "Do you smoke cigarettes?" And I said, "No, I don't smoke cigarettes." He goes, "Don't worry about it. Continue smoking cigars." And I, by the way, get my bloods monitored every single 6 months, complete blood test every single 6 months, and I'm working on it. So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't drink alcohol. I don't do any of that. I smoke one, maybe two cigars a day, sometimes nothing, and it is what it is. What's this? In current fiat terms, there are 0.35 Bitcoin per millionaire, 0.03 on exchanges per millionaire. Each Bitcoin should go to at least 3 million. There you go. It's not really that hard. I don't know why people find it so hard to work out. If you're not bullish on Bitcoin, you are going to suffer. By the way, the comments are moving so fast. That's why I'm having to take a second to scroll back. So, British, first off, super big fan of your channel. Thank you very much. Please subscribe if you haven't. Please share your thoughts on Arthur Hayes' epic bull run to $750 to $1 million Bitcoin by 2026, followed by a huge crash. Yeah, there will always be a huge crash. There will always be a bull run. 2026 to $1 million, I think that's, based on the amount of liquidity that I can predict being pinned into the economy, I don't think that's realistic. The only way that happens is if by 2026, let's see. By 2026, if we start getting pivot from other assets into Bitcoin, which I don't know where will happen. I think right now, the way we're at, what happens is people start adding to Bitcoin with new, fresh capital that comes in. If we start getting a pivot from other asset classes into Bitcoin, which could happen once an ETF is approved, then that could happen. But other than that, I think that's a little bit too early. but NHS is free. I just had an uncle pass away a few months ago because he decided to fly back to London and use the NHS. So I don't have. I think any free healthcare, what it's supposed to be for, is for stabilizing you, right? Like once if you have a heart attack, there's no one better in the UK than the NHS at getting to you and making sure that you are stabilized. That's what they should be doing. But now everyone wants to get their dicks chopped off on the NHS. And now that's slowing down emergency response. What needs to happen is the NHS handles emergency response, and then those that can't afford it move over to private care. That's what's supposed to happen. Said, could you talk about borrowing against assets and how to use Bitcoin without selling underlying asset? I've actually done a whole video on this. You should go watch the video. It's called When to Borrow Against Bitcoin. Listen, you think I'm crazy, right? Paulie thinks I'm going crazy here. Go look at what you can now get on the NHS. Absolutely. This is the most truth you are ever going to see. Free equals cost too much. By the way, we were talking about channels earlier. Who has the best YouTube channel, etc., etc. I think one of the most underrated YouTube channels for orange pilling someone is Natalie Brunell's channel. I think she does an amazing job. She's not, obviously, she's a podcaster. She's commentating on Bitcoin. But I think she does an amazing job at being relatable and allowing people to hear the message. I think she's one of the most underrated. She's been in my top 3 for a long time. I think she's one of the most underrated channels on Bitcoin in the space. I don't know whether you guys pay attention to what she does and the podcast that she has. Absolutely fantastic, and the way that she presents it is absolutely it's great. I think she's one of the best. Martin said, do you think Natalie is a hottie? Do I think Natalie's attractive? Yes. What type of question is that? Have you seen Natalie? What are you talking about? Yeah, absolutely. And this is why. This is it right here. Natalie is a legit journalist. And that's what's important. Her skills of being able to take information and being able to condense it down in a way that is understandable and digestible. I think that's what makes it. Honestly, her channel has been one of my top 3 since she started. Just the way she does it is absolutely amazing, and also her desire, why she's into Bitcoin as well, is also very important. Buzz said, I like Preston Pish's channel. It's a great channel too. Yeah, listen, look, this is the biggest recommendation I can make. The Bitcoin Standard is an absolute must-read for everyone. If you have not read the Bitcoin Standard, you got to keep your mouth shut. Like, it just is what it is. You have to keep your mouth shut. Saifedean does the best job possible at explaining Bitcoin. Some people say, oh, it's a little bit too intense. It's a little bit too dense. Grow up. Grow up. This is also true. BTC Sessions, Ben has the single best channel on learning how to hold and self-custody your Bitcoin. That's absolutely also true. Right, I'm probably going to be on here for another 10, 15 minutes. So if you've got any other questions that I can help answer, please let me know. Now is the time. By the way, this week is going to be very, very important because I've got a video coming out that's going to completely destroy every single gold person. Every single gold person is going to be destroyed. So keep an eye out for that. Yes, I'm from an Indian background, African Indian. My dad's side is from Africa, from Kenya, and my mom's side's from India. They're both Indian, but that's just how it worked out. I'm born and raised in the UK. Grayscale ETF predictions 2023. I think it's still happening. Remember, it's the 8th of October. The 13th is when the SEC, the SEC gets absolutely fucked again by the courts because that's the deadline. And they haven't appealed yet? They haven't done anything? What are we talking about? The signal is GBTC. Someone take a screenshot of this. Just keep it until I tell you. Yeah? Is that what's going to happen? Yeah, it's going to 1.618 extension up, yeah? Is that what's going to happen? Balmer Trading Center said that. Is that what's going to happen? Tell me what else is going to happen to gold. Why is it that I was a gold person? I pitched gold to people. I had gold in my portfolio and I pitched gold to people, right? I do not understand how people cannot get their gold bugs. Listen, you guys are getting me too excited right now. Gold bugs who are telling people that hard assets are important are not realizing that Bitcoin is the hardest asset on earth. Make it make sense. Your entire life is as a gold bug is about explaining to people why hard assets are important. And then someone comes to you and says, this is the hardest asset on earth. And you say, no, it's a scam. And by the way, I know this because I did that. I am the idiot that I'm talking to right now. Or I was the idiot that I'm talking to right now. So all of these people that are out here saying gold's going to go to $17,000, $25,000, $30,000, this, that, and the other. Come on. What are we talking about? You can use gold for jewelry. That's what it was meant to be used for. It's meant to be used for jewelry. And then if you get into a tough time, you can sell your gold. That's why we had it in my culture. Hold on, there was one thing. Here we go. This one. Why? Answer me this question. TZ said gold is always good to have some. I argue it's better to have Bitcoin and Rolexes than to have some gold just for the sake of it. Because I can move, say if I've got my Rolex, right? Say I own a Rolex Daytona or one that everyone can get, Submariner. I can fly from London to Dubai or London to Colombia or London to Malaysia or London to Singapore. And I guarantee you that I can liquidate that Rolex faster than I can liquidate gold and at a better price. Because it's easy to walk into anywhere with a watch without any restrictions. It's on my wrist, I'm out. With gold bars, what are you going to do? Rock up to the airport, show somebody your gold bars, and they're going to say, don't worry about it, keep it pushing. I can fly through the airport with 100 grand on my wrist. You can't do that with gold. Yeah, there you go. Briggs said the right thing. The only way gold is going to be valuable is because someone's going to figure out how to make gold carry Bitcoin. I guess if you just, banged in your passphrase. There you go. Fuck your gold, buddy. I got Bitcoin. I like that. So, this was actually the comment I was meant to click on. Rolex is also harder to buy, though. No, they're not. No, they're not. If you're just looking for a cash alternative, if you're not trying to buy Daytonas and this, that, and the other, you can walk in and get a Rolex in a couple months. Here we go. What's your opinion on decentralized network to replace telecom companies' possible control of all internet communications, i.e., projects like Helium. I think it's the only thing as important as Bitcoin. I don't give a flying fuck about any other project besides Bitcoin. Why? Because for me, the single most important thing is to fix the underlying system. Once you fix the underlying system, then you can build other shit on top of it. If you have not fixed the underlying system, everything else is going to break. That's exactly what we have right now. That's why I don't focus on shit coins. And any of these things that are going to be stable are going to be built on top of Bitcoin. So the way to do it is, if you think you're smart, build something on top of Bitcoin, just like the Ordinals tried. I'm a fan of free market capitalism. You got an idea, you want to speculate, you have the right to make and lose money. Simple as that. So build it on top of Bitcoin. If it has any value, Bitcoiners will give you money for it, real money for it. And if it doesn't have any value, they won't give you money for it. But you don't want that. Shitcoiners don't want that. Shitcoiners want to give you the illusion and sell you the idea of future value when they don't realize that I've got something that's actually valuable right now, which is my Bitcoin. So, own Bitcoin, and one day when something is valuable, when a utility is valuable, you can then buy it and use it. But it will only be valuable if it's on top of Bitcoin. Other than that, it's a fucking scam at this point. It's an interesting question. Yeah, so I sold a bunch of Rolexes in the last cycle, and in this cycle I sold my car. And of course stocks and gold and this, that, and the other. But the main things that are exciting. I sold my Rolexes. I reduced my collection of watches down to the watches that I love. And that's it. And then none of them are Rolexes. And my car. And my car was like, it should have been sold anyway. It was just sitting in London, and I was traveling around the world, and I just hadn't bothered. So I went back. I was like, yeah, it looks like the secondhand car price index is about to collapse, so I better sell this thing. If I'm 60 and rich, how do you orange pill me? Do you care about the wealth that you've spent your entire life putting together? Because if you don't, then we don't need to have a conversation. But if you do care about it, then we need to talk, because it is depleting. You have been sold a lie. I would sit there and calculate exactly how much energy you've put into it and figure out what the value of it is now, and show you how the value of it is performing against the amount of money that's being printed. Someone who's 60 and already rich, you know what they care about? They care about allowing their children to utilize the influence that they've worked their entire life for to have a better life. And if you're taking that wealth and diluting it by the amount of money that's been printed, I'm robbing you of the opportunity to give your children the very thing that you have worked your entire life for. And that's how you do it. It's very, very simple. People get it. I've spoken to so many people that just get it once you explain it to them. What kind of car was it? It was a Mercedes E-Class Coupe. MSTR, no thanks. Not right now. Do you think Coinbase will offer lending on Bitcoin? Absolutely. It has to be part of their business model. Here we go. What do you guys think he should do? Corey, I want you to pay attention to the comments. They will tell you. Buy it now, stop being a pussy, basically. Yeah. Anything underneath the 200-week moving average is a great buy time for Bitcoin. This is a great question. Is this it? No, this one. Is there any one detail that gives you pause for thought when reviewing or doing your own research on Bitcoin? Yeah, I'm at the end of the day, you have to assess the risk, right? Hold on. I want to talk about this, so I'm just going to pin it. Right. You have to assess the risk of anything you're doing. And the risk for me is governments and other entities, influential entities like that, stopping the adoption of Bitcoin. But guess what keeps happening? They keep fucking enjoying Bitcoin. They keep saying, you know what, Bitcoin's the one. You got Gary Gensler, chairman of the SEC, coming out and saying everything else is shit. And shitcoiners go, no, everything else isn't shit. What are we talking? The risks of everything. When I came into Bitcoin in 2020, the risks were higher, much higher than they are now. You got governments coming out and saying Bitcoin is the thing. Bitcoin is we know how to tax Bitcoin, we know how to track Bitcoin, we know how to do all these things. This is what it is. We got an ETF coming. This is what it's about. Birkin bags are worth more than gold. Abso-fucking-lutely. If I was assessing two women to be my wife, and one of them said she was buying Birkin bags, and with the money that she earned, or her inheritance or whatever, and the other one said she was buying gold, I'd pick the one that was buying Birkin bags. Now, if she says she was buying Neverfulls from Louis Vuitton, I'd tell her to take a hike. But a woman that's figured out, I need to save up and buy a Birkin bag versus I need to save up and buy gold, that's a woman with the right mindset. And then I'd educate her on what Bitcoin was. How much net worth? I would say if you've got any amount of net worth that's significant, I think it's completely reasonable to get 5% of your net worth into Bitcoin and then work up to 50%. I think that's reasonable. After that, you just gotta, depends on how crazy you are. This I completely agree with. There you go. This is the actual solution. If really shit hits the fan, I don't know what these gold guys are going to do. You're going to stick gold up your ass and try and move around safely? No, you need some guns. You don't need gold. If shit really hits the fan in the most perfect doom and gloom boomer gold bug $1,000 net worth or, $10 a month DCA gang vision, you actually need a gun. You don't need gold. How many more months until most people are priced out? I would say you have until the halving, latest, but I think to be on the safe side, 2023. And then we're going to start pricing out. The next cycle will start pricing out single-digit millionaires, like $1 to $9 million. Look at this stupid shit. Stephen, why? Why are you trying to get a couple Ethereum now? Is it because you've been hurt? You've been watching those with faulty vision? Is that what it is? Here we go. Look, another. Well, what is this? What's going on right now? The morons just showed up right at the end. This is what's going on. This is what we're doing. I thought we had a good session, guys. You guys invited all your physical moron cousins right at the end. That's what happened. This is the truth right here. Bitcoin, and it already is. If you truly understand what Bitcoin is, it is the hurdle rate. It is the basic asset. It is the underlying value that you should be pricing everything in. This is a good question. What percent of your Bitcoin are you going to leverage into an ETF? It depends. I would say less than 10%. I already own a bunch of GBTC anyway, so it will just be converted. You got to remember also, like, my life is very different to other people's lives too. Like, I understand how to generate liquidity on assets that I own without selling them. And for most people, if it takes time to understand these things, or you need people around you to take time to understand these things. So you can't just go out and do it. You need to really pay attention, otherwise you will lose your Bitcoin. Here we go. This is what we do this for, right here. Everyone congratulate RL. This is my only goal, because at the end of the day, I can sit here and get really technical about things, but what's the point? Everyone's going to miss it. And this is the one opportunity you have to actually understand what's going on and take advantage of it. Bitcoin's the first asset on earth known to humanity where you can actually own it. A millionaire can own it, a billionaire can own it, normal wage earner can own it, a person on the street can own it and not get screwed over. You own the same asset. This is what the point of this is. There is no other point to this besides helping people understand that they need to get to one Bitcoin right now. No matter what the shitcoiners say, no matter what the people that tell you that there's opportunity, it is so easy to get distracted right now. We are in the middle of the fourth turning, and the idea of the fourth turning is very simple. People seek community because they feel lost. And that's what I'm trying to do here, if anyone hasn't worked it out. My goal is to keep you here and keep you focused on getting to one Bitcoin, because that is the only thing that actually matters. If you're not onto one Bitcoin, you are going to get left behind. And not only are you going to get left behind, every single person that comes next in your bloodline is going to get left behind, because you can't buy more of it. There is no way for your children or your grandchildren to come in and buy the same amount of Bitcoin that you will have now, outside of the miraculous of them creating a multi-billion-dollar company and actually doing it. There's no way. No matter how you feel about this, you have to secure your Bitcoin, because if you don't, you will sacrifice your entire bloodline. That's why it's very, very important to own one Bitcoin. Get to one Bitcoin. Figure it out. You don't have much time left. You've only got a few months left to get to that point, and then we start pricing out single-digit millionaires out of Bitcoin. So I don't think I'll be here for too long. I don't think I'll be here for too long. I don't think so, right? I don't think I'll be here for too long. I think everything I'm saying runs out in a very, very short number of years. That's why I'm trying to go as hard as possible. I don't plan to build a podcasting business. I don't plan to do any of this. I'm here to get people as fast as humanly fucking possible to one Bitcoin so that their children's children are safe. That's what I'm here for. That's the only thing that matters to me. And no matter what you think about that, no matter what you think about Bitcoin, no matter what you think about other shitcoins, no matter what you think about other opportunities or other people or everything else, the only thing you need to worry about is getting to one Bitcoin, because that is the only thing that will matter. In 50 years, you won't know me. In 100 years, your great-grandchildren are not going to know who British Hodl was. That's not what this is about. This is about you getting to one Bitcoin right fucking now, because ultimately, the 3 rules of Bitcoin never change. Step number 1, you buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, you shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy. I appreciate every one of you. I love everyone that joined. subscribe to the channel. If you're on Twitter, go to YouTube, type in British Huddle, and subscribe to the channel. And I got some great content coming out this week, and I'm going to see you guys next week for another live stream.